What's up, man? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I'm hanging in there, bro. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. So we're gonna pretend like we haven't been talking to each other for the past 2 hours, or
Yeah, 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 guys. We've been talking on the phone for like the past 2 hours.
yeah, we've been talking for quite some time. That's the thing with us, man. Like we can just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. But
Yeah, yeah.
what's
It
been
was
going
late.
on in your world lately, man?
A lot, man. Since the last time that we spoke, a lot has been going on, man. I had a couple relapses since the last time that we talked. One major one, I would say. I mean, two major ones, but the
Yeah.
last one was super major. I lost a dog in that time
Oh, I'm
period.
sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks. I think a lot of people can, probably watching can relate.
Yeah, I lost
It's
a dog too.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm
It,
really sorry.
yeah, it's all good, man.
It sucks. It sucks. And recently I've been taking care of my mom's dog who is currently dying from like cancer and stuff. And yeah, man, it's rough watching a dog, especially, any animal that you care about just deteriorate like that.
Yeah.
Uh, it's similar to a human being. I had to go through that with like my grandma getting dementia and cancer and stuff, and it's just a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. Cancer is a terrible thing.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
so yeah, man, I'm sober now again. I got 46 days. Uh,
Congratulations, dude.
hey, thanks, brother. Um, but yeah, man, just trying to figure out my way in this crazy world. Trying to figure out how to stay sober. You know how that goes. It's a battle, man. It's a battle.
I gotta tell you, man, I never got 43 days under my belt ever when I tried to do it on my own. I never got that far. Never.
And a lot of people have told me that type of stuff, and that gives me a little bit of hope. The last time that I quit, and at the beginning when I started my YouTube channel, I almost made it to 4 months. I almost made it to 4 months, man. And that kind of showed me that I can do it.
Yeah.
The thing is that I've been drinking for almost a decade now. Probably about 8 years of that, I've been drinking extremely heavy. Uh, I kind of mentioned this in one of my videos. I've always been, for the most part, in the beginning, I drank beer and stuff, but it didn't last for very long. Most of my drinking career, it's been hard liquor. And I think that that just plays into some of the reason why I am younger. I'm not even 30 years old yet, but I think that that plays into some of the reasons why I've had so many problems with my health and so many consequences is because of the hard liquor. It's that hard liquor, it just takes it to a whole entire different level, man.
It does,
Um,
man.
and it's for like the last, 8 years, man, it's completely taken over my life. I can't believe that I make YouTube videos talking about alcoholism. It blows my mind. I
Me
never
too.
in a million years. I was the kid who looked at my mom and my brothers and stuff. I looked down on them for drinking. I always thought, man, I'm never going to be that person. I'll never be that person. And well, here I am, man. Here I am, uh, to this day battling that. And it's not a battle forever. And I think that you can probably attest to that. People with long-term sobriety, usually like a year or plus, you can see the benefits of it. And
Yeah.
it's like you, man, you can literally see the benefits just from watching your videos. It's pretty awesome.
It's funny that you say that too, that that you never thought that like you'd be doing these videos. When you said that just now, it made me think back when I was in 5th grade. I wrote a paper for Dare, and I like it was like a competition to see like who would write the best paper for Dare, and I
Right.
won. And I had to read my paper in front of the whole entire school. And I'll never forget standing up there in front of my parents were there that day. My brother was there, and I'm speaking in front of the whole entire school up on the stage. And I was like, I will never use drugs or drink in my entire life. And that didn't happen. You
I,
know what I
I,
mean?
yeah, man, I was the same kid. I was the same type of person. My mom pointed this out. She was like, for all the stuff that you used to kind of like give people slack for back in the day, it's like you kind of have problems with that now. I've noticed that. I mean, even smoking weed, I used to just give like my mom, she used to smoke weed a lot when I was younger, and my brothers especially, and I used to just give them such a hard time for that. And I think that, you know, growing up, those things, you hit puberty, you get into your teen years, you start to get influenced from the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I've said it before, just coming from kind of a chaotic household and then being influenced on top of it from just like social media, it was just a recipe for disaster. Somebody like me, who I have severe anxiety, I have severe panic disorder, I have all that stuff. They've diagnosed me with that stuff. So drinking was just that perfect recipe, and
Oh
until it
yeah.
wasn't more. It did everything for me until it didn't do what I wanted. For it's I often say that we drink to solve our trauma, and then the drinking becomes our trauma.
Oh, absolutely, man. If
I
you
think
if you
that's
could if you could take it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, man. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna if you could like if you were to think about, I'm sure you've done a lot of thinking about this. What do you think like was your main reason for drinking? Do you think it was like the anxiety or the depression, or do you think it was just really more of a combination of all of it together that really drove you to drink?
I think more than anything, it was probably my anxiety. I just have always carried a lot of anxiety with me, and now that I'm going to like a family counselor and I'm being able to break some of this stuff down, I'm starting to kind of realize why I carried all that anxiety with me from a young age.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I was homeschooled most of my life. My parents, uh, I kind of pointed this out in one of my videos, but from like the age of like 1 years old to 10 years old, my parents got along for the most part. It was pretty smooth sailing. But from 10 years old to today, they're separated now. They don't, you know what I mean? They just, it was bad. It was really bad. They would get into extreme fights. And I think that some of that caused some of my anxiety. And then an array of some other things that created this just unbearable anxiety that I've had since I was like 11 years old, that I didn't know how to deal with. And yeah, I think that naturally transitioned into my alcoholism. Um, I was always the kid that would be sitting up in his room, and I was always quiet, always listening. I always wanted to speak, I always wanted to be part of the conversation, but I just felt like I couldn't. I never
Yeah.
felt like I was good enough for something, or I was scared that if I said something wrong, people would judge me. I never felt good enough to be part of the family, and people would always be asking. Like my uncle would be asking about me, like where's Slayer? Where is he at? Oh well, he's sitting up in his room, and that gave me even more embarrassment. And I just didn't know what was wrong with me, and it led. And the counselor said he was like, I think that some of your problem is that growing up you were so isolated, that when you did hit a certain age and alcohol was introduced, it was like I just exploded.
Yeah.
All that stuff that I was holding back all those years that I wanted to say, it's just like all of it came out. I could finally be the person that I wanted to be. And in the beginning, and I think everybody that's watching this video can agree to this and attest to this. In the beginning, it does answer all those questions. It is the medicine for us at that
Oh
time.
yeah, absolutely.
It's people say, well, it's the problem. Well, no, it's actually the medicine that we're looking for at that moment. And quickly, once you start using it as a tool to, cope with anxiety, cope with depression, you're already on the slope downhill. You're already on it, and you might not even realize that.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, it's a slow progression. And I've heard the same story with you, with myself, with every other alcoholic, drinker, drug addict, whatever it is. It's a very slow progression. It starts out as something fun, and then it leads to something where a lot of the times, man, you're looking at life or death.
Yeah.
It comes down to you're either going to pick your life, pick your family, pick everything that you love, or you're going to pick booze, or that substance. And I think for many years now, I've tried to, because I'm younger, I think that that's some of it. I've tried, like all of us have, I've tried to convince myself that I can control it, that this time it will be different. I got it this time.
Yeah.
And the older that I get, man, the closer that I get to 30 years old, the more that I realize that it's like, damn, dude, I'm never going to be able to control it. I'll never be able to control it. It's not a medicine. It's something that I run to, and it gives me short term relief for a long term downfall,
Yeah.
uh, of chaos.
Yeah, it's funny because you know, kind of piggybacking off what you're just talking about, the video that I did for today, I filmed it right before I called you, and
Right.
I actually was talking about something that we were talking about last Saturday when we were on the phone, because we spoke last Saturday for a couple hours,
Right.
talking about this talk, and you and I were talking about relapse, and we're talking about how it all starts with one thought, and
It does. It
that's
does.
what my video was based on today, is that one thought that we get that pops in our head, and we entertain it, and we give it just a little bit. You know, it starts with whatever it could be. You know, I've got this wedding coming up in 2 weeks, or
Yep.
my
Yep.
brother's birthday party is in 3 weeks, and we put this little teeny seed in our brain, and we forget about it, but we unintentionally are watering that seed throughout those couple of weeks,
Absolutely.
unintentionally, not realizing
Absolutely.
what we're doing, and the next thing you know, before we know it, we've already set ourselves up for that relapse, because it all started with that one little teeny thought. And like we were talking about last week, and you're the one that said it, is that uh we can sometimes set ourselves up weeks in advance. We're
Absolutely. We
already setting ourselves up for relapse, and
do.
we know it in the back of our head what we're doing.
We do. We
And
do.
then,
Or go ahead, man.
no, no, you go ahead.
I often say that. I say that pretty much every single one of my relapses in recent times, it is about a week in advance. It's a process leading up to the relapse.
Yep,
You're letting little things slip. You're letting little things go that you usually wouldn't. You're letting your mind get away with a little bit more than what you usually would.
yep,
Uh, you're letting your mind cross those boundaries that you usually wouldn't let your mind cross, and that's usually the first step. You start fantasizing a little bit about it. At least I do. I start
oh
to
yeah,
fantasize and put little bit, these fantasies in my brain and stuff of, oh, well, if you drink and think about how fun it was for this time. And oh my goodness, like if you want to play it's all these delusional fantasies start to pop up in your brain. And slowly but surely, you don't even, it's like you said, it's intentional, but it's unintentional.
yep,
It's like, you know what's going on in the back of your head, but you're completely ignoring it. At
yep.
least for me, I would always be trying to just ignore it. It's like I know what's coming. I know what's right around the corner.
Well,
A relapse.
it's like we're intentionally ignoring the red flags that are popping up. We
Yes,
know what's going
absolutely.
on, but we're like, not that big of a deal.
Yep.
I'll deal with it when that time comes, and then that time comes, and then before we know it, we've got a beer in our hand, and we don't even know what happened.
And what you said, man, about, and it was one of your older videos, what you said when you would go out to relapse, how you would literally just like, before you would know it, you would like black out and then you would be back at the house and you would
Yep.
just have the alcohol in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that was brilliant. Brilliant. That is, I've never heard anybody else describe it that way. That is absolutely 100% the truth. That's how it is. So many times it's like you said, man, it's almost like I teleported. Like
Yeah.
I just teleported from the liquor store back home, and next thing you know, I'm holding a bottle of Southern Comfort in my hand. I'm like, how did this happen?
It's like
And
muscle memory, man. It's like
it is. It is.
you don't even realize that you just went to the liquor store, and next thing you know, you got that black bag in your hand. You're like,
Yeah. What happened?
yeah,
How did this happen? And for me, and I'm sure again, some people can probably relate to this. A lot of the times when I've relapsed, I will get like the liquor, I'll get whatever alcohol that I'm gonna get, and I'll try and hold on to it. I'll try and like push it back where it's
oh,
like, okay,
yeah,
you know what
man.
I'm saying? It's like,
I
oh,
know
okay, I'll drink
exactly what
this,
you're talking about.
I'll hold on to it for a while, and then like I'll have it later, or I'll have it just in case if like this comes up or if that comes up. And dude, it never works out that way.
And then you
But it's
catch
like,
yourself with the bottle in your hand, and you're looking at it, and you're examining it, and you crack
yes,
the lid, and you take a little sniff on it,
yep,
and you're like,
yep.
and
And
when you take that sniff, man, it's over.
it's over. It's
Yeah.
over. And you don't realize, like, for me, you've already, for like myself, I've already messed it up. I've already crossed that line from purchasing the liquor because
Yep.
now the liquor is inside the house.
Yep.
Now the liquor it's no longer that I have to go purchase it. It's right in another room. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I'd be thinking to myself, well, I'll put it in this other room and I'll lock it away behind this closet. So it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Uh-huh. Yeah. sure,
Yeah,
right?
you know it's
No, the
there.
entire time, yeah, the entire time you're sitting there I'll be doing dishes or whatever. The entire time in the back of my head, you got that liquor bottle in the closet.
Yep.
It's just waiting for you. At any time now, you can go grab that if you want to. Go ahead. And sure enough, maybe I'd last a day. Maybe I'd last 2 days, 3 days at tops. But eventually, I would slowly make my way over to the closet, open up that door, and next thing you know, I'm cracking the liquor bottle open and drinking it. And there was always, every single relapse, there was always a sense of, every single time that I've relapsed, there's been a sense of relief of like, oh man, that sweet touch, that first drink. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, all you feel like those worries go away. But then there was always followed by that, there would always be an immediate um regret, an immediate feeling of regret. For those first couple drinks, I would always get hit with an immediate feeling of, man, like, why did I do that? I'm a failure. I would get all those types of feelings, and then that adds to it. That
I was
adds
just
to
about to say
it.
that.
And
Next thing you know, you start feeling sorry for yourself, and then all of
yes,
a sudden you're giving yourself even more permissions, and before you know it, you're back at the liquor store, and now you've got 2 half gallons of liquor,
yep,
and you're like, where did this even come from?
exactly.
Have you noticed a pattern in your when you've relapsed? Like, have you noticed a pattern of steps that you tend to take that leads you to that point?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's my entire attitude changes. I stop. I don't act like myself. I start to. I do. It's self-sabotage is what it is at the end of the day. We start to self-sabotage. And that's what I do for myself. It's like I will set up things in my life that will depress me or make me sad, or I will like take advantage of situations that are depressing or sad to use that as an excuse to drink. And that's when again, you're an alcoholic when you're doing that.
Dude,
That's why I almost drank because of this whole entire situation with my mom's dog. And I love this dog, man. I really do. She's just as much my dog as she is my mom's dog. That's how I look at it. But my alcoholic side of my brain, instantly, man, boom, just like that, go drink. This is depressing. You feel sad. What are you going to do about it? Well, you're
yep,
going to go drink. That's where my mind goes every single time. And I think that that's why, as alcoholics, we oftentimes say that like we wish that we could go back in time and never pick up that first drink, because our brain immediately goes to, again, it kind of goes back to the medicine factor.
yeah,
That's our medicine. We want to feel good. We want that problem away. And what you have said, that you could drink for any ailment that you were having, I'm the same exact way.
yeah.
I could drink. And my mom the other day, she was like, yeah, that's a sure sign that you're an alcoholic. That's what she said to me. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Like when you can drink for any problem under the sun, it doesn't matter what it is. I would be sick with the flu sometimes, man, where I'm having
Oh,
diarrhea.
me
And
too,
what do I do? Well, I go get a bottle of liquor and I drink it. And guess what? Most of the times I'd feel better.
dude.
Most of the time I'd feel okay.
I used to know this guy. He was a Mormon, and Mormons, they don't drink like that. And
Right.
he was from Salt Lake City. He was a manager, worked with me in the restaurant, and I'll never forget because I guess he had left like the Mormon Church for a little period of time, and was drinking and partying during that little window. And one of the things he mentioned to me one day, we were back in the kitchen working on the prep table, and he said, the one thing I miss about drinking is that anytime I would get sick, I would drink, and I would always get better after I drank.
Yep.
He wasn't drinking in that during that period of time. He had already stopped, but he said that's the one thing that he missed about alcohol, is that if he had the flu or bronchitis or whatever it was, he would drink and he would get better.
You feel better.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
yeah, I was the same way, man. It didn't matter if I had a cold. If
Yep.
it didn't matter what it was, I always had a reason to drink. I always found an excuse, no matter what. I mean, it just didn't matter, man. And one of the things like you were saying about like kind of getting to that point where like you go to the store, you get the liquor, and you put it in your closet, and you keep looking at it and stuff. I would
Right.
do the same thing, but then I also would start doing this thing to where I was setting myself up mentally where I would start finding things to get pissed off about.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
somebody left a plate on the kitchen counter where
Yep.
normally I would just put it in the sink, no big deal.
Right.
But
Right.
now I'm gonna make a big deal about this. Whose plate is this? Who did this? I can't take. I've had a long day at work. I just worked a 14-hour day, and I gotta come home, and there's plates on the counter, and people. This is going to drive me to drink again. I'm telling you. And I would start looking for excuses. The trash is overflowing. Why can't somebody take the trash out? Or whatever it is. And I was looking for every little thing I could to upset me as an
Absolutely.
excuse so I could tell my wife, all these things are going wrong right now. So I just can't take it. I have to have a drink.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
that's what would end up happening.
Yeah, we're setting up things in front of ourselves to give us a reason to drink.
Yeah.
Is what we're doing, and subconsciously or consciously, we're 100% doing that.
I think I
Um,
knew. I think I did it knowing wholeheartedly what I was
Me
doing.
too. Me too. Me too.
I knew what
It's
I was
again
doing.
that it's we want to pretend that we don't know what we're doing. We want to
Yeah.
pretend like, oh well, I don't know. It's we know exactly what we're doing. We know
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing. And it does. You've talked about it. So many people have talked about this. It's a recurring subject, I guess, in recovery. But every single time that you go back and you relapse again, it does get worse. It
It
does get
does.
worse.
It does.
And my last relapse that I had, man, was brutal. It was brutal, man. Most of it I don't remember. It was just most of it was a blackout, unfortunately. I It started out as it usually does with just a simple thought, just I went and bought those two beers, and in a video of mine I actually poured them out, and I
Yeah,
kind
I
of
never
brought
saw that video, and when I watched your video where you were saying, "Hey guys, the other day I recorded that video of me pouring those beers out," and then
yeah.
started talking about your relapse. What happened with that?
So it, again, for probably about a week straight, my mind was spinning. I was spinning in my mind, going back and forth of like, oh, maybe I should drink, maybe I shouldn't.
Did something trigger those thoughts?
A lot of the times in my recent relapses, it's just been, I don't know. I think a lot of it is like regret and shame of everything that's happened from my addiction. And I think a lot of it is the fact that I can't change certain things about like what has happened in my addiction.
Yeah,
Um, I brought up my ex many times, and I think that that's been a big part of my relapses is just not coming to terms with the fact that she went and got with someone very close to me. I mean, there's all sorts of things that play into it. Um, it's really though, I think that when I relapse, it's that I'm not 99% of the time, it's that I'm not doing the things in my life that I need to do to be able to feel fulfilled, to be able to be content with my life. And if I let my mind wander, it's like the old saying goes, idle hands are the devil's playground. And it's true, man. When I let my mind wander, when I isolate, it's the most negative thing that I can possibly do for myself.
absolutely. Do you start
That
feeling? Do you start this whole start feeling sorry for yourself?
Yes, yes.
Like
It,
self-deprecation, you start like you're like, man, I'm worthless, and this and that, and
you do,
yeah, yeah,
and that's how I start feeling, man. And I'm sure some people can relate out there, but everybody can relate to having a bad relationship. And I had plenty of bad relationships before I ever became an alcoholic.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's a totally different kind of like element, or like it's a totally different thing when alcoholism and addiction is involved. It's like it feels more personal, I guess. You feel more responsible in everything that happened because so many times that you should have been there and you were drinking. There's that feeling of that deep down inside that you do love that person, and you really did want to be there for that person. You tried to be there for that person, whether that's your family member or whether that's your spouse, whoever that is. You really tried. At least I did, and I'm sure you did too, man. You're a good guy. I'm sure you tried, but you know as well as I do, when you're wrapped up in addiction, you can only do but so much.
oh yeah,
Um, and I let so many people down along the way. And it just sucks because then you get sober and you want to go back and you think that, at least for me, the first couple times that I tried to get sober, I thought that, oh, I'm going to get sober and everything is just going to go hunky dory, rainbows and sunshine. Everything's going to fall back into place the way that
Yeah.
it's supposed to. That's not how it works.
It takes
That's not how
work.
it works. It takes a lot of work, man. And
Yeah.
it also takes like, and I think that it's like I've said on my videos, AA is very, people either love AA or they hate AA. That's what I've seen on YouTube, at least, and like just from people that I talk to in group and stuff. Um, but it seems like with stuff like that you can, I don't know. It's just such a slippery road, man. It's just such a slippery road that once you're wrapped in it, and again, it goes back to what I said before about how we drink for trauma and then the drinking becomes a trauma.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to that. And I think that in the past couple years, my drinking mostly hasn't been because of the drama, or because of the trauma from way back in the day that I initially started drinking for. It's actually just the trauma from me drinking, all the stuff that's came from my drinking over like these past 8 years. It's
Yeah.
a lot to wrap your brain around, man.
I think, and you brought up a really good point in the beginning of the video too. You're talking about how you were, working towards figuring out why you drink, and I think that's one of the most important things is that is looking deep down inside and figuring out, why am I doing this? What
Absolutely.
what am I trying to escape from, cover up? What is it about me that is making me want to become numb and completely disconnect from the world, and drink to the point where I don't know what's going on, and lay in my bed all day long drinking vodka out of a half-gallon bottle, and
Right.
you know only getting up to pee or either throw up, and not eating all day long. There's this, like,
It's insane, man.
it is,
Isn't it?
but once we start really getting into the nitty gritty of it and looking deep down inside and finding out why, I think that's one of the most important things that we can do, because there's
Absolutely.
always an underlying issue. There's a reason that we're drinking the way that we are. And
Yes.
I'm not saying that we're going to be able to solve whatever that problem is, but identifying what that problem is, whether it's childhood trauma, were you picked on in school? Did you have a hard time making friends? Whatever it may be, but actually looking back, really taking the time to focus on yourself and say, what is it that I'm trying to escape from? And like I said, you might not be able to fix that problem, but at least you know what it is and you can identify it, and that way it might help prevent another relapse in the future.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think what's the time looking at?
I think we got probably just a couple more minutes, and then we'll have to stop this section right here. Why don't we go ahead and stop this section right here, since you said that?
You
And
want to stop it here?
yeah, let's go ahead and stop. So guys, thank you so much for watching this section of the video.
Yeah.
This is going to be
Thank you.
part one, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do 2 more parts of it. Anything you want to add, Slayer, before we get off of here?
I just wanted to say real quick, I want to get into some anxiety around death. Starting off our next part. I think that's an important subject. So we'll get into that in the next part.
Absolutely. And we also, we talked before this, we're gonna kind of talk about relapse a little bit more, talk about, anxiety before death, and whatever else we kind of come up with as we go along. We're
gonna talk about some of the fellow YouTubers in the
yeah, we're
community.
gonna talk about the fellow YouTubers as well, and the community, how it's all coming together. But we're just doing this organically, and Slayer and I talked before this and kind of decided that we wanted this to be as authentic as possible and just talk, and not really have a guideline. So this is just gonna flow as it goes.
No script.
No script at all. We just got a couple of bullet points that we talked about that we want to discuss, and we might skip those, but
Right.
anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Slayer.
Yeah.
I will
love, man.
thank you so much, and all right.